You good to start?
Yee.
Cool. Let's do it. The Angry Chicken. Are you recording? Is a good question.
Yee.
All right. 4:45 records live in 3, 2, 1. The Angry Chicken Hearthstone podcast is produced by amove.tv. Check out amove TV for more podcasts covering Blizzard games. For more of Jocelyn's gaming podcasts, visit jossplays.com. And to find many more podcasts with Ridiculous Hat, follow at RidiculousHat on Twitter. Every episode of TAC is made possible thanks to our legendary patrons over at patreon.com/TAC.
Time's up. Let's do this.
Legendary!
You face Jaraxxus. You smell like a leper gnome. I knew it. So hot.
A podcast about Hearthstone and Battlegrounds. This is The Angry Chicken!
Greetings and welcome back, everybody. This is indeed TAC. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, here as always with Ridiculous Hat, the most ridiculous of hats, even though he is, once again, hatless. I am the hatted one today.
We should really coordinate this better.
Should we? I mean, it was your fault for making that your handle.
Okay.
Sorry, let me roll that back. It was your family's fault for naming you that, because as we all know, your legal name is one Ridiculous Hat.
Yeah, well, Mrs. Hat came up with that name. She was more sensible.
Ah.
But my name is ridiculous.
Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 445 of The Angry Chicken. Oh, happy Alterac Eve, everyone. You're sitting, camping maybe, in a tower overlooking a bridge, waiting for the enemy to show. And the enemy is hopefully going to be a slower meta! With any luck, we're going to be staring down the murderous eyes of a slower meta tomorrow. Servers willing, Hat.
Yeah, it's I'm looking forward to seeing whatever happens. I'm not hoping for slower personally. I understand a lot of people are, but just different is cool. Let's go with different.
I would be fine with more board centric. More board centric.
You're gonna get me started even before we get into the meat of the show. The meta's got a lot of board stuff right now, like a whole lot of board stuff. Some of the
But it's
best decks are
boring.
just
But
tactical
it's like boring board stuff that we've seen before.
because the expansion's been out for 4 months. You know how you fix that? You make a new one.
Yeah, but it's been similar to like stuff we saw before this expansion, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the Quest Warrior decks we saw on Barons.
Give me more than one example, which I know you can do, so I don't know why I'm challenging you.
Any Warlock deck also in Barons. Like, literally any.
Fair.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the change. I'm glad that they're looking to push slower strategies, because, I mean, we've heard that a bunch of times, and Celestion's been in our chat and talking about how that's a goal of the team, because there's been this perception of the meta being really, really fast, and there being some more powerful from-hand stuff that has been partially true, but they've kept nerfing around that, and right now the meta feels really, really board-centric to me, along with some of the best decks being Phase Hunter with Doggy Biscuit and Aggro Druid, still quite strong, Handlock still quite strong. But we have a lot of really efficient removal as well, and we have some powerful from hand stuff that feels like it's limiting the format to people that are trying to play something slower and grindier. So maybe there will be some options there, as well as possibly some balance changes if the meta ends up still being really proactive stuff and really powerful from hand stuff around turn 8-ish. We'll see what happens. I'm curious.
Well, it's a good way to put it. We'll see what happens. That's how it always is, right? We can sit here all day and assume which way it's going to go, and it'll probably go a different way.
Yeah, I remember people predicting what would happen in Stormwind, and I think it's fair to say that everyone, ourselves included, maybe that was a swing and a miss. Because remember, the most craftable card of Stormwind was Cornelius Rome, didn't work out all that well for Cornelius fans.
Yeah. And also here I am being like, I just want to play big things because I am, as always, excited for Paladin. I'm not just weirdly into Templar Captain. Like I'm not like you. My brain doesn't work like yours, man. I don't get excited about doing like 17 things in combo as Rogue. Although I guess now you can just play Scabs. So maybe you're going to come over to the big dumb Paladin side.
Okay, hold on. 8/8s with Rush on turn 8? I'm about that life. That's a life I want to live. Big Illidari Inquisitor fan, and if instead of going face I make a dumb taunt idiot, and then next turn I make more dumb taunt idiots, we can do that. That is acceptable.
We prefer...
I got no problem with Templar Captain.
Listen, they're not Taurens, and they're not hunky, but we prefer the term guffs. Okay? We don't like big dumb idiots. We like guffs.
Are you calling Guff an idiot?
I'm calling Guff a himbo.
I'll allow it. I like Guff.
You better. You better.
Who doesn't like Guff?
Yeah.
Who doesn't like
However, you stopped me before I pointed out my own hypocrisy.
Well, please continue.
I was about to say, here I am sitting here going, yeah, I just want to play big things. And I am, as always, excited for Paladin, who I think is going to play some big things. And in reality, I think the more I've marinated in all of this, I just want to do some stupid spell shit as a mage.
I think there will be a way to do that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, there'll be ways. Yeah, there'll be ways. And despite scheduled tweets, Quest Mage, it hooked me in. It really sucked me in at its high point, and I ended up having a really good time with it. And I miss it a little bit, and I kind of want to get back to doing stupid spell things. And I think I'm going to be able to
I would guess a lot of people miss it because the deck was tier 3 for 7 months, and people kept playing it, and it was the most popular deck in the game. You don't do that if it's not fun.
Hey, what a wonderful Hearthstone world we live in.
It is.
Where fun outweighs wins.
Yeah.
At the end, I've never really thought about this. At the end of the day, I think that is the world I want to live in.
It's been going on for a little while, all the way since Ticketus, which we know that people loved. And I understand that sounds like I'm being sarcastic. And we got a lot of letters to the show about
Oh, wait, hold on a second. What's fun about Ticketus? I'm with you. I don't think Ticketus is broken. But also, is it fun to just play Ticketus?
A lot of people like making it so you have no more toys and I have all the toys. That's the fun part.
Okay, that's fair.
Like,
that is it. Okay, that's fair. So you're what you're truly arguing is it felt powerful.
People kept doing it despite the fact that they weren't winning when they did. So there's some merit to the design there, because when you have people winning or not winning but still doing the same thing, that means there's some real strength in that design, because people are more drawn to the feeling of what they're doing than the outcome of the game. So that's why I will defend Quest Mage, or at least existence, for a little while. I'm glad they nerfed it. I didn't want to play against it anymore. I was all set. I figured I had enough of that experience. I was ready for something new. But for the amount of time that it was around,
you're not running for president of Hearthstone. Like, you don't need to be electable. You can be honest with us, Hat.
Well, I am being honest. I'm glad it was around. I kept beating it most of the time, and then eventually I got bored of it and wanted them to nerf it, and then they did, and I was happy. So
Fair.
I don't think that Quest Mage will be the mage deck that people see in Alterac, because now it's at the point where it really doesn't win, and it's not going to win, and even if you go off, it doesn't win. So the play rates drop like a rock. I don't expect to see a lot of it.
So I think I'm somewhere stuck between Paladin as always and Mage as the thing I'm going to probably play right away tomorrow. What's the top of your list? Is it Hero, Scabs, Rogue?
It's I think the deck I most want to play is Green Zoo, the Demon Hunter tokeny deck with the Sharkfin Superfan and the Flag Runners and Hero Kurt.
Ooh, that's some good stuff.
I want to play some, and maybe some Urzul Giants. That's what I'm feeling right now, but I'm going to play everything. I'm going to play everything.
If you could send me a report card on how that deck does for you, I'd appreciate it.
You'll get more updates than you probably want.
Cool. And then I'll send you a report on if I crack Kurtrus, and then if you can maybe just send me the password to your account, because you'll probably have better luck than me.
I mean, you could just have better luck yourself.
We'll see.
Try
I've had
that.
pretty
Try that
rotten
first.
pack opening this year. Well, not rotten. I'd say I think I've been average like across the board. I haven't had any like crazy windfalls of legendaries in my pack opening this year.
Yeah, I understand that I'm like fairly whale-ish, at least orca-ish. Like I end up with the tavern pass in both bundles, and then usually like 100 packs-ish from gold because I do all my quests, and so I haven't had too much trouble finishing expansions within the first couple weeks. But you know, sometimes it just takes longer, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes I make impulsive crafting decisions that I would warn our listeners not to do. Because again, don't make Cornelius Rome or whatever the equivalent is of this expansion, which we'll find out, I guess, in the next week or so.
That's fair. As someone who plays more as what I would categorize as a mere mortal, I would say I play an average amount of Hearthstone. Things like the rewards track has left me with more currency than I used to have. And so I think this year I have spent the least amount of money in Hearthstone that I ever have, like over any previous year.
Nice.
Yeah,
I haven't talked to too many player profiles where the rewards track actually left them with less. It's either been equal or more for basically everyone I've spoken to.
Yeah, I definitely have like more gold than I typically have, for sure. So yeah, because I have finished every rewards track, but I haven't grinded it out like crazy. Like folks like you or our good friend Ben Hearthstone, who people are starting to think you might be the same people.
Okay, we're not. And he finishes rewards tracks. I have never finished a single track. Like finished. I have never once done it. That's level 400.
No, sorry, but what I
Never.
meant is like getting to past 100, getting the final non-gold reward.
Sure. Yeah, I mostly just do my quests every day. Like I make sure the quests are finished every week. I never miss a quest. But beyond that, I don't play a crazy amount unless the set's really, really good. And so there have been some times where that's been the case, but I just don't have the time to play as much as I want, man. Like I just don't have the time. And I would love to hit that level 400 or whatever, but I never have. And I still probably play more than the average bear. But
You've been in
There's
top 100 legend how many times this year?
a few. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. But anyways, looking forward to it. Excited to hear how you do with Token Demon Hunter, because that's another archetype I'm excited about. I think it has moved a little bit further down the totem pole. Again, is like I kind of sit and stew since the last episode. But anyways, we've got some housekeeping before we get into this week's Hearthstone news. First off, Joss wanted to let everybody listening know that she and Matt suffered a loss last week and that she's going to be back with us as soon as she can. So our best wishes are with Joss. We miss her, but also we're going to give her as much time as she needs. So she just wanted to say hi and let you all know what's up. So that's what's going up there. As usual, a tweet at Joss Plays with unattributed unicorn gifts. That would be good. If you can find holiday themed unicorn gifts, that would be even better. Because it's really specific. And you might have to go to like Giphy instead of just using the built-in Twitter GIF keyboard. Who does that? Gonna open another tab, Hat? Can't do that.
If I'm on mobile, it's built into the keyboard.
Oh, well, there you go. Also, hey, do you like winning stuff, Hat?
I do, but I'm not going to enter this one.
Well, I mean, it was a simple yes or no question. If you like winning stuff, I didn't say if you like winning the bundle giveaway we are about to announce.
It generally winning good. Yes, I like winning.
Well, folks, Blizzard sent us 5 Alterac codes to give away, one of which we've already announced how we're giving it away because we put a tweet out just a little bit earlier from the @TAC podcast account announcing the fact that Blizzard sent us Alterac codes. And then we also said that if you follow the TAC podcast account and retweet that tweet, that you'll be entered to win one of them. And then we also deviously promoted that we would be giving away an additional 4 on this episode, that we're going to announce how we're going to give it away on this episode. So Blizzard sent us, again, Alterac codes to give away. These are for Fractured and Alterac Valley Standard Pre-Purchase bundles. These are the bundles that include 60 Alterac packs, the Alterac card back, and 2 random legendary cards from Alterac. So if you're listening to this live, hi chat room, how you doing? Obviously, there's still time to pre-order. There's all of that. But these codes are good after the expansion launches. And we are, again, giving away the standard pre-purchase bundle. So if you've already pre-ordered the mega bundle, but you were holding out for one reason or another, or maybe you haven't pre-ordered anything. But the big thing is that if you already pre-ordered the mega bundle, you can still claim a code for the standard bundle. So you can still enter this and not feel like you're going to miss out potentially on anything. So what we're going to be doing this time, same as the last few bundle giveaways that we've given to give our podcast listeners a chance. We're going to run this for a week. We'll announce winners on the next podcast, but tweet at us, tweet at the show account, which is, again, at TAC Podcast, and use the hashtag Puppy Cubs, which you will get that reference if you listen to last week's episode. But tweet at TAC Podcast using the hashtag Puppy Cubs. Write whatever you want. Maybe say something nice about another Hearthstone creator you really like. Make them feel good, because might as well spread some joy and holiday cheer while we're also giving away dope prizes sent to us by the Hearthstone team. But yeah, we'll let that run. We'll pull some names out of maybe not a ridiculous, but a hat next week. Disclaimer: we will probably use a random number generator, not actually use a hat.
I pushed for that change.
Did you not like printing out and cutting up thousands of names to put into a hat?
I mean, eating them was not great, but the retrieval process was even worse.
Not where I was going with that, but I'm so glad you did. So anyways, again, there's one tweet right now over on TAC Podcast where if you follow the account and retweet it, you will be entered to win one of these bundles. And other than that, tweet at TAC Podcast using the hashtag Puppy Cubs to be entered to win one of 4 Alterac Standard Pre-Purchase bundles. We will, first of all, the same person shouldn't win 4, and we will notice if you do, and you can't claim more than 1 anyway. So there you go. Go enter. Good luck. Have fun. And other than that, if you like what we're doing here, you want to support us, check out patreon.com/TAC. We thank our patrons so very much for their support. You can go check out patreon.com/TAC to support the show, join our Discord, all of that jazz. Go check that out. But let's get into it. This week's Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
Hat, do you like, I don't know why I'm going to keep asking you if you like things, but do you like chess masters? World famous chess players?
I suppose so. I'll be honest, on most of them, I'm fairly indifferent, but the concept of a chess master, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, we got I would say one of the most surprising and out of the blue Hearthstone promotional videos the past week, where chess grandmaster Garry Kasparov played against Slissa.
That was cool. And Garry Kasparov is a name that I remember growing up. I'm dating myself here. I remember reading about Garry Kasparov against Deep Blue, the famous chess AI, many years ago. I'm trying to remember what year this was. It had to be in the 90s. And it's like he was the first chess name that I knew as a person that was barely into chess at all. I remember reading about various chess games that I would play, because Battle Chess on the PC, that was a classic. That was a throwback. Played a lot of that. And so he's still around, and he plays Hearthstone now. And he played against, air quotes, a Hearthstone AI that was actually just Slissa.
That was indeed the setup, and listening to us tell you about it here is probably the worst way to experience this short video. But it was super well produced. As someone who was last half a decade fallen into a lot more video work, I was real jealous about the production quality on this. I bet this was fun to work on.
Yeah. It was like Queen's Gambit-y, very much by design. They were going for that feel, and yeah, they spent a bunch of money making this, and the people that filmed it and produced it knew what they were doing.
Yeah, it's damn good stuff. Multiple surprises. including the fact that it's Lissa, but they played like standard, not Battlegrounds. So check it out. Can't recommend it enough. I enjoyed this. Gary Kasparov, I'm not particularly familiar with him. Again, I do remember the story about him versus the AI during the 90s, because I too will date myself. But that was about it. But I was like, oh, it's an interesting crossover for Hearthstone. Something a little different. I liked it. It was fun. Yeah. Recommend the video. Go check it out.
Also, it has 6.1 million views, which is more than most videos get.
I didn't pick up on that. You are correct, sir. Goodness gracious me. One might call that an effective... Oh, I was trying to show it, but apparently I messed up this overlay, which I might as well just fix for later. So for the live audience, enjoy. Hi, everybody. We're going to go here and done. Fixed it. There it is. Yeah, wow. 6.1. That is effective. I also saw, certain people that may or may not be community managers asking what other crossovers we'd like to see in the future that are maybe a little less expected.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy with the direction that Hearthstone is going with community management. It's been the last very short period, last few weeks, really stepped up their game.
Yeah. We're biased, though, too.
Yes, I mean, Garrett, we admitted to our bias earlier. We both like winning, and right now Hearthstone community management is winning. So, yeah, I'm biased.
Well, moving on with other Hearthstone community goodness, we have not one but two AMAs to cover this week, and they're not both from Ixar. We have a Celesteline AMA.
That's so good, and it's not just our show chat.
No, it isn't. Celesteline, conducted first of what looks to be multiple future AMAs this week. And there was a lot of interesting bits in here, including just kind of like things you would expect, like further explaining how things are going to work in Fractured and Alterac Valleys, like, for example, the fact that Poisonous is not going to trigger Honorable Kill. Which is a damn good clarification, and one that I hadn't thought about until I read this clarification.
There are going to be a lot of people that mess up Honorable Kill, but the rule is fairly clear. If your thing has Honorable Kill, and you attack another minion and or find some way to deal damage to it, bring it to 0 health, Honorable Kill triggers. So you have to bring the minion to 0 health. Poisonous doesn't do that unless you're attacking for 1 poison and it has 1 health, then sure, that counts. Or if you like Soul Rend to Korak, it has 5 health, it goes to 0 health, but it has to go to 0 health on the controller's turn of the person with the Honorable Kill effect. The exception there is Korak. Korak doesn't care whose turn it is. So if you have Korak, and you trade your 3/5 Korak into a 5-attack minion on your turn, your Korak dies and stays dead. He has fought with honor, he has died with honor, and he's gone. So just be aware of that.
That's another good clarification for sure. But then there were other kind of more ancillary questions that still related to Alterac. Specifically talking about objectives, and I guess how some people wish that they would change the board when they were played, which was not something that had occurred to me, but Celesteline said that changing the board's field was something the team had considered, but it was a significant art and engineering time investment that they could not prioritize. And then I also went on to explain that final version of objectives cards happened too late in the design process. So we also got a little bit of history out of this AMA.
Yeah. And we're giving really broad strokes here. He answered a lot of questions, like a lot. And so the recap on out of cards is what I generally direct people to. And there's how many paragraph headings?
Oh, we got 1, 2,
12?
3, 4,
12.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. Well,
Hi, ma'ams.
One of them is ma'ams, which frankly, I'm offended by this because it should be the first section.
Yes. I love ma'ams. She's the best.
Mams is very good. I am all about Chihuahuas in any form, however small the percentage. We also got some card talk out of Celestalon. Apparently, Illidan Stormrage was changed to Xavius because they thought he might receive play in Demon Hunter, and it would be weird to have Illidan playing Illidan.
I kind of follow that, but considering that this year has 3 versions of the same character in every class, kind of looks a little silly in retrospect. But sure, I don't have a problem with Xavius being.
Yeah, at this point, right? And while they would have been an early design on this year's sets, or at least some of them, yeah, you don't really know to what length it's going to get pushed. Also, apparently, what do you think gets called out by the designers as the most problematic things in Hearthstone when designing new cards?
Paying life for stuff.
Yeah, because I thought it was hilarious that they meant that Celestalon answered with Blood Bloom, a single card. Goes, okay, Blood Bloom, that makes sense. And then an entire class by saying Warlock.
Yeah.
So a card.
Do you remember
a class?
Do you remember the original answer to this back in the day? The original answer to this question by Ben Brode was Stone Test Boar. Along with
yes,
Rep
you are right.
and Malygos.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, Stone Test Boar gone. Malygos is gone. Or, refactored, whatever. Prep is nerfed. So now it is paying life for stuff, which makes sense because that is broken in card games.
If you don't die, it's irrelevant. If you win the game, it's irrelevant, is the translation on that.
Yep. So,
yeah, finding optimal ways to pay life to let you win the game is going to be pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. This didn't surprise me too much to hear, but it really did give me a hearty chuckle. It was like single card and entire class.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. We also got a hint that an older non-evergreen keyword will be making a return in the future. Are you ready to speculate?
Oh, am I? Well, okay. What's your first thought? What do you think?
Adapt.
Why?
Because I liked it and it was impactful. Sorry, let me go with the non-biased one. Because it was impactful. Let me go with the biased one. I liked it.
Was it impactful? I remember it being really, really good on one card.
That's fair.
It was really good in that one card if you had Innervate. We're talking about Flappy Bird, also known as Vicious Sledging for anyone that wasn't playing back in my day, which was, 2017 when Ungoro came out. Been a while. But turn 1 Vicious Sledging was game over. But I'm trying to remember the other adapt cards that were relevant.
Ravenous Pterodax see play in Warlock? That was the destroyer from
Pterodax saw a little bit. Oh, Stegodon, the adapt all your Silverhand recruits, that did see play.
Yeah, you know what? Never mind. Yeah. I stand by this. Thank you for reminding me of Stegodon. I'm pretty sure that's what I was thinking of and just couldn't recall the damn card name because it's Paladin, so I was definitely playing it.
Oh, and Crackling Razormaw on Hunter, the 2-mana 3/2 adapt beast. That was really powerful.
So never mind. Yeah, there was plenty. There was enough, I think, to warrant it and warrant another swing at adapt.
Okay. I can see it.
The one I think is more realistic to come back, and just got mentioned in the chat room, is Reborn.
Why Reborn?
I think anything that is Death Rattle adjacent is impactful because Death Rattle has stood the test of time, and things that happen when minions die is always going to be, I think, a deep well that you can go back to. And I like Reborn being a very specific, a very narrow. It's essentially a one-off Death Rattle. It always behaves the same by bringing back whatever it's on with 1 health. And I like, to me, I just get really, really excited about the value proposition of sticky minions.
Yeah. So Reborn is actually, I think, pretty low on my list because if you want to make a value proposition off of a sticky Death Rattle minion, there are a lot of ways to do that. Reborn was pretty thematic for the mummy stuff that was going on in Saviors of Doom. Really visually distinct, but I don't know how mechanically distinct it was. What I'd be looking for to do if I were a designer is, how do I bring back an old thing to give me more options now? It could be something that I'm already doing, which means Recruit, Inspire, or Echo have all been reused. Echo in particular, there's an Echo card this set, Full Blown Evil, which says repeatable this turn. When you say repeatable this turn, and you ask me, hey, what does that mean? I say, oh, it's Echo. And you're like, oh, okay. If I'm using 3 words to say the one word, the 3 words aren't doing much. There is also, they are functionally different. Repeatable this turn cards can be reduced to 0. Echo cards have the hard floor at 1. That might be important. You might need that. But it's unexciting. And if you can already use repeatable this turn as well, then are you bringing this back as a one-off so Chad can be a troll in AMA? Entirely possible. He's not above that. Don't think he is. Recruit, I think if you put Recruit on Drekthar, that card reads a lot clearer. If every minion in your deck costs less than this, recruit 2 of them. Makes way more sense than what they put on the card. So I could see that too, and I could see Inspire, just because those are keywords they've already made reference to.
Yeah, and we've returned to hero power empowerment a few times since. So I think the team has learned a lot about how to finagle hero powers in a way that, feels good and is actually, competitively viable. I want to go back to Reborn real quick because you talk about how it's very thematic. And yeah, it's thematic to mummies, but death mechanics are something that have always existed in Hearthstone. So I think it'd be very, very easy to sell Reborn as a non-thematic mechanic. And
yeah,
as someone too who wants to see more buffs, I like enchantments and that kind of thing. I think Reborn is another interesting tool in that design space, because then if you're in a world with more than one archetype that wants to buff their minions, it feels a little less bad if they die, and because Reborn minions, they come back, but they come back without enchantments. So you have this kind of push and pull of, all right, at least I dealt with the buffs, but there's a little something left behind if you don't have all the right answers to perfectly clean up the board.
Yeah, with all the Death Rattle synergy cards that we have now, Reborn doesn't have any interaction there. If I print Reborn minions, it doesn't work with Xyrella, because it doesn't have the word Death Rattle on it. So I would want to make sure that synergy is there, because I love that idea, but you can easily make a 2/2 that summons a 2/1 with the Death Rattle. You don't need the blue glow.
Fair.
And I do want the Death Rattle to synergize. The other stuff that I could see them doing is some more recent stuff. Spell Burst is a great mechanic that I think actually fits this pretty well.
Yeah,
it's rotating out.
That's
rotating out in April.
That's one I'm surprised we didn't see more versions of right away. So that might be the call. That might be the most likely candidate, because after a week with Spellburst in the meta, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, this is going to be the next Discover.
Yeah, it's the design space they have with it is huge. It's really interesting and dynamic from game to game. That dynamic replayability, I can play differently based on my Spellburst card or your Spellburst card. I really love that, and it's skill testing. It's challenging. The other one that I think is likely to come back in the future is Tradable. And the main reason I think Tradable is going to come back is not the reason you might think. It's not because I love the mechanic, though. I do have a lot of affinity for it. You can't make Tradable without using the keyword Tradable. There is no way to print the text on the card to explain what it does. You have to say Tradable.
Yeah,
because repeatable this turn you can do. When you hero power, you can do. There's no text that makes Tradable make any sense except the bolded word Tradable.
Yeah, and we do know that the Hearthstone developers will always just write it out rather than use a keyword, even if the keyword already exists. They will even go out of their way to delete keywords from the game, because they just love putting more text on cards.
So the keyword argument, I've heard this from many places before. A keyword is only valuable if it saves you time explaining things multiple times and there's something that references that keyword, that cares about that keyword. Otherwise, you're not actually making the game more accessible. You're just condensing things, but then you say, oh, what is that thing? And it's just can often be more confusing for no reason.
In a game where you can hover over the card and it'll tell you what everything means?
I don't want to play Legends of Runeterra. I don't want to do it. If I want to go hover over cards, I'll go play a different game. But like, I want my cards to say what they do.
You've been able
It's
to
okay
hover
for a card
over.
to say what it says.
Well, I'm sorry. You cannot say you want your cards to say what they do if you're talking about Hearthstone.
I can't. Listen, the amazing Reno, you know what he does? Poof. You know what Poof is? You didn't know the rules text, but when you played it and every minion Poof, you were like, that's what a Poof is. You understood, right? You played it and all the minions just poofed.
I don't think you can say things while sounding right, and that means you're right. Because that's an example that wins my argument. It just says poof. That doesn't explain jack.
But then you played it and all the minions went poof, and you're like, where'd they go? And it's poof. That's just the question and the answer are the same. There's gonna be some level. Okay, let me rephrase. You've played Magic the Gathering in person, right?
Did you say in person?
Yes.
Yeah, matter of fact, I think the last time I played it, it was... No, that's not true. No,
Okay.
I played Arena since then.
Okay. So you've played in person. The cards are very clear in the text. They almost have too many words. Have you ever gotten an argument while playing in-person Magic the Gathering over the rules?
Yes.
Ever been in... Okay. Even though there's text on the cards?
Oh, well, let me be
Even though it says everything?
let me be very specific. I've had people try to instigate arguments. I usually raise my hand and just say judge.
That's a good approach. I'm glad you did that. The judges are there for a reason. Anyone listening, there's no shame in calling a judge. Please do it anytime. That's how you get people that are used to getting what they want because they just act aggressively and tell you how they want their cards to work.
Yeah, I one time had this one person go, but poof, it just poofs. It just makes sense. I don't have any actual proof for this. I don't have any proof for my poof. I don't have any poof proof. But I'm just gonna
scroll up and update the show title real quick.
I'm just gonna speak with indignancy and assume that people are gonna agree with me.
The Hearthstone client is the judge. That's the point. That's the point. The Hearthstone client is the judge. It tells you what you need to know. But by adding keywords, what you're doing is you're making the language of the game more insular. And also tying a keyword across multiple years when you don't have to. They work a little differently. It doesn't actually add a ton of value when you still have space left over in the card. And if you're not referencing a keyword, what's the point?
If the client is the judge, why do you care if you know what the keyword does or not?
Because not everyone plays as much as me. I want everyone to have as good of a time as possible playing Hearthstone, no matter how much they know or what podcast they listen to. Hopefully, the Angry Chicken. So
we're in agreement. Poof should be more descriptive. Thank you for agreeing.
No, I think poof is plenty descriptive.
So it's going to be Spellburst, right?
I think it's going to be Spellburst, yeah. It'll be tradable further down the line, but it doesn't qualify as an older mechanic yet.
Tradable, this is going to sound like a dig, and I promise it's not. I mean, this is the highest of compliments. Tradable is so boring, I think they could reprint it right away.
Boring is...
It's a poor choice of words. It's so...
I kind of get it, though. Like
it's unflashy. In a game like Hearthstone, just saying, I'm just going to drop this back in my deck and take another card is really, really tame. But from a card design standpoint and as a tool in your bucket of card design, it's freaking awesome. And it seems like the kind of thing that could just always exist and the theme be damned.
It feels like it's been part of the game the whole time, which is why it's like unexciting, but also why it's great. And yeah, I think you could do one here or there. You don't want too many tradable cards. And there are some tradable cards that I don't like. Something like Fire Sale, I think, is just too efficient on both ends of the spectrum. It's just like, kill your stuff or throw it away. I have no downside to running this card. I want there to be some kind of downside. But cards like Overdraft or Provoke, where you couldn't print them without tradable being on the card, because you have these really high payoff gameplay scenarios that never happen if you don't allow players to run the card without a downside. You really want those to happen. So I'm glad they made tradable for cards like that, and I hope that they bring it back. They just can't print too many of them, which is why they got to wait a bit. But yeah, it feels like something that should always be in the game, because if instead of a tradable card, it doesn't have tradable, you just sit there and do nothing. And 1 mana trade is not great, but it's better than sitting and doing nothing. So I'm all about players having more agency in game action.
Yeah, I'd go to bat for that as well. The only other one that like kind of comes to mind where I'm like, yeah, I could see that again is Recruit. Recruit's another one I could see making a comeback.
Recruit is a mechanic that I was terrified of when I first saw it in Kobolds, and justifiably so, because it was not, it wasn't tuned correctly at the time. And I think that we've learned that maybe the mana costs need to be a little different, but they've made Recruit work a lot better lately. They know how to cost it. Darkspeaker, Blackthorn, Phase Stalker was Inspire, Recruit a Secret. Now it's like it's just put all the old keywords together. And Drekthar is very, very powerful, but they figured out how to make Recruit a little bit less broken. Part of it is making the rest of the game more synergistic, and part of it is costing it correctly. I think it could come back in a meaningful way and actually like have some of its design space. But the more and more we talk, Spellburst is the only thing that like really gives them more options that they don't currently have.
Yeah, that's true. It'd probably been easier to list keywords that we didn't think were gonna come back. Like, it's even like Twin Spell's another one we haven't seen in a little bit. I was like,
it was only in ROS, and then Dark Moon Races had Rising Winds, a couple others, Fresh Scent.
Yeah, so it's
really,
been more
really
than
powerful.
one set.
Only Dark Moon Races, the first mini set, which was kind of the greatest hit of that year,
Oh, yeah.
and then or no, it wasn't even Dark Moon Races, right? It's Galakrond's Awakening. It's Galakrond's Awakening.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
Yeah. So it was only that year and Rise of Shadows. And Ixar's talked a few times about how like Twin Spell was just good enough. It was very competitively relevant. I don't foresee it coming back. Like it didn't do enough other than be a really, really good value proposition. And a bunch of the cards it was on were kind of unfun to play against. Ray of Frost and Conjurer's Calling in particular.
It's not at the top of my list for what I think is legitimately what Celestalon is referencing, but I think there's still like merit there for. I wouldn't be completely dumbfounded if we saw Twin Spell cards in the future.
Yeah, it's not the craziest thing I've ever heard, but it's not where I'd expect them to go first, because I think it just lets them make cards better, but not more interesting.
That is fair. That is fair. Quite a few things in Battlegrounds. The only thing I thought was interesting is that they're planning to update the game to show the armor values of heroes should they adjust. Like update the images. So that's cool. There were like other things too, where when new heroes are announced, they're going to be looking to let us know how much armor the hero has. Although I almost want them to obfuscate it so we can sit here and go, how much armor do you think it's going to have? It's just a new way for us to say how powerful do we think this hero is.
Yeah.
I almost want them to not tell us.
I think that would be interesting as a non-Battlegrounds player, but if we can't argue against Poof and then say, nah, don't tell BG's players how the heroes are going to work. You can't do that. You gotta. People want information when they play.
We are not going to agree on this today. We're just going to keep battling back and forth on this, aren't we? The real battleground was the Angry Chicken all along.
It was, yeah. Well, it's not the Happy Chicken.
Yeah. Yep. And then Celestalon also reiterated that they have a goal right now to slow down a bit on the new focus on pushing for stability and polish in existing systems.
Good.
I always want my game to work even better. This is like a politician saying, I'm for the children. Like everyone, or
like Wu-Tang also saying that they're for the children.
It's for the children. Yeah, who can disagree with this? Who can go, oh, this is ridiculous? How dare they? How dare they spend time on making the game behave better?
It's worth noting though. We think back to the Halcyon days of February 2020, and we think about the volume of things they added since then. There were only 9 classes back then. BGs had just come out. There was no duels. There was no mercenaries. There was no classic mode. There was no core set. There's no diamond cards, no rewards track, no mini sets, no duplicate protection outside of legendary. Only 18 deck slots. There no BG's cosmetics. Man, they've done a bunch of stuff.
They really have. Speaking of cosmetics, Celestalon also mentioned that while they consider cosmetics and BGs successful, they do not compare to how much Constructed brings in for revenue. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I almost moved past this one for time's sake. But I'm surprised we got this comment. We don't often hear about like what's successful on a revenue standpoint.
Yeah, well, and this was actually answered by one Ixar Dean Ayala. In response to last month's AMA, it's clear that Dean got some AMA FOMO because he did one of his own a few days later.
Sit down, Dean. This isn't
yeah.
your AMA, even though I love this answer.
I said that to him. I said that he was on leave, and he responded with a GIF that says, "I do what I want." So,
what's a GIF?
Graphics interchange format.
I didn't know you could reply with peanut butter.
Image. I wish I could, but that would mean less peanut butter for me, which would upset me. So
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me that Battlegrounds Cosmetics aren't raking in the cash.
They're probably doing fine, but it's different than buying a thing that you need versus a thing that you want. Those are not gonna be the same.
Yeah.
Like that's just not how that goes. And I think Dean has gone on to comment on his own AMA that there are some games that really push the cosmetics as the main thing that people buy, because even though the percent of adoption is low, the user base is so huge that it's enough. Hearthstone's not there. Most games aren't there, but there are some that can absolutely get there.
To me, it's just like you're just a well of interesting noises today, Hat.
Am I making noises?
I heard like a car horn earlier, and I think you were just typing, but you typed so fast it could have been like a chip bag being crunched.
It's raining super hard here all of a sudden, which is why when you started talking, I looked back.
Oh,
like
weird.
It's really, really loud.
Okay,
Are
we swapped? Rain. It usually storms here.
I feel confident this will make its way down to you.
Oh, okay,
but yes,
cool.
It's a dark and stormy night.
Bring on the cold front. The final point I was trying to make on the Battlegrounds thing is like I'm not too surprised because to me it's like those are some very, very good portraits. The portraits are so very cool, and they are also so very expensive, in my opinion. They're past the point for me. I only got the very first bundle with Tiki Rag. Like every time I see him, I'm like, I want that. Ooh, that's more than I want to spend.
Right now, it very much feels like a testing period of like what are they willing to do, but also the store just feels completely bloated with stuff. I asked in Dean's AMA, I just asked for tabs. I want a tab for which mode I'm buying for. Like even just that you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and there's more and more and more.
Kind of thing that seems so obvious to me that I assume it is a design challenge.
I assume it's a tech challenge. Every single choke point for like the past year and a half has been with tech.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the engineers are just super overburdened. Hence why I'm so excited about Celestion's answer. They have a goal about slowing down the new to focus on pushing for stability and polish existing systems. We need some polish. Hook us up. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We also got an actual Ixar AMA, not where he was just crashing Celestion's AMA, and talked about things like the future of Hearthstone, saying that there are plans to add a new type of card, which I think is a perfect hint after things like objectives. Because they feel, like enchanty aura-y to me.
Yeah. They go in the sigil slot. And I get it, but also there's probably a different way to do that. And I'd be curious to see how they do it, but you still want to be able to reference it because people here at the Angry Chicken love mousing over things to know what's going to happen. So
at least 50% of today's episode.
It's been a lot of mousing over things to see what's going to happen. So I want to make sure people can do that, but there's got to be some other type of card, but I wonder what it would be. I don't know.
I'm not too sure either, but like enchant-y, aura-y, that kind of thing is very much in my mind because it obviously exists in the other card game. The only other card game I played with any notable amount.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
No.
Pokemon.
Okay, I have played Pokemon. First gen, though.
Pikachu.
It's been a long time. Last time I played the Pokemon card game, I didn't have a driver's license.
My goodness.
It's been a bit. The first expansion hadn't even released yet. At least in English. I had quite a few cards in Japanese. Anyways.
Hipster.
I unearthed those, by the way, and one of these days I'm going to do a stream where we go through those. Yeah. I don't know. This could go take a lot of different places. I could also see equipment, but I feel like if they were going to do equipment, we wouldn't see things like the kind of like damage mitigating shields we've seen in the weapon slot and designs like that, because that feels equipment adjacent to me.
They've found a way to make things feel like other things, right? With the legendary weapons for every class in kobolds, when you have 0/3 weapons that just sit there and do a thing, it's not really a weapon the way that you think of one typically. A quest is technically a spell, but it feels pretty distinctly different. They found ways to repurpose existing stuff. So the question I have is, what kind of card would it be? A different kind of spell? Would it be a different kind of minion? Or would it be something completely off the wall that we don't know? Because hero cards were, I guess Jaraxxus was kind of the first hero card, but he was so distinctive back at the time, and then they made a bunch more of them.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. And there's certain things that show up on my feed every day, almost as if they were scheduled, that are keeping certain things in the back of my mind. And with hero cards coming out and everybody getting one, it like reminded me that there was a period where we got a trickle of hero cards, that like not everyone got a hero card at times. And I wonder if, first of all, I think it's going to be a while before we see quests again, but when they do leave and we experience that drought, could we just do like 1 or 2 quests? Like, does everyone need to get one? Is that some kind of unwritten rule?
People like them. They're popular. It's with all the dialogue around them. For the past 2 cycles, they were usually not great cards. They were very popular, but the decks they were in were usually good for one meta exactly, with the exception being Original Quest Rogue, which I think that we can all agree was a mistake of either design or tuning. But the vast majority of them were good for one set, and that was it. And yet people wanted to open them, wanted to get them for free, wanted to craft them, wanted to play them, and kept doing so even though they weren't winning. So even though Stormwind has polarized the opinions there, I'd expect them to keep making cycles of quests, because every time they do, people buy a bunch of packs and have a bunch of fun. And I really wouldn't want to take that away. Like, yeah, you could vary that, but I think the play next time is going to be make them a little worse. Because if people are going to play them anyways, they don't have to be this good.
Well, that's okay, because Dean already took away my fun by saying that Death Knight's eventually not happening anytime soon. Dean, why can't I be emo? I just want to be emo, Dean. Why won't you let me be emo?
Demon Hunter's in the video game.
Shit. Okay.
Listen,
okay.
There's a portrait where he's holding a skull like Shakespeare.
Demon Hunters need more shirt.
There were some Death Knights that pretty notably didn't shirt. I guess they have armor, huh? Unless they all have, I guess it's a plate class.
Yes. There's literally
cold up there in Northrend.
A plate class. Yeah. There are entire swaths of an expansion dealing with Death Knights that deals with the fact that, like, we gotta go get the god blood. That's what they make their armor from.
What was the thing that was in the initial launch? Runes? Runes for Death Knights?
Are you talking about in World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
Yeah, rune
the other
carving,
game.
as far as I understand, is still in the game for Death Knights.
What was the thing that was in, that was on launch that was super complicated and super broken? I don't remember.
Maybe it was rune carving, because I know it's gone through different iterations. I don't remember.
Someone in our chat is going to have this information.
You're talking about their energy system. Yeah, the original rune system for Death Knights was wildly complicated. They have simplified it quite a bit.
Yes. I remember that. But they still have the energy. But I remember there was something really, really silly in the launch that was broken. Anyways, it doesn't matter. We're a Hearthstone show.
Yes,
irrelevant.
It is utterly irrelevant. Yeah, I have a feeling a lot more people will be playing World of Warcraft right now, because they can't get into Final Fantasy.
Quite the bold strategy from the WoW team.
Dean also talked about cosmetics, saying there's no current plans to make old diamond cards from the Tavern Pass purchasable, but it might be something they consider in the future. I love a classic maybe to a maybe. It might be something we think about.
I mean, at this point, he's got to cover his bases as best he can, which is also why we have a huge disclaimer about the next section here about the things that he's going to pitch to the team that are definitely not in development and super duper not, and this is not a promise.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, this is
matter of fact, let's go straight to it, because Dean apparently intends to pitch to the team when he goes back. But they are super duper not in development right now, and this is not a promise. And mentioned, and this is grouped by things that would be considered massive, large, medium, small, and etc. So I'm going to rattle off what's listed under massive here, Hat, and we're gonna talk about it. Okay. So
let's go.
Under things that are going to be pitched that would be considered massive are going to be tournaments, guilds, multiplayer constructed game modes like 2v2, 4v4, or raids, and card market for selling and buying cards.
These are big. Is there a different word for big you can think of? Starts with like an M?
Gargantuan?
I was going to think of monumental, but gargantuan works. These are, if they can do one of these in the next year, I'll be surprised.
Yes. I feel like I have a deep lack of understanding as to why social systems in games are so difficult. Years ago in Heroes of the Storm, we got guilds listed in a BlizzCon trailer as an upcoming feature. Guess what still isn't in Heroes of the Storm?
Players.
Oh, low blow. I would have gone with exciting patches. We're basically Overwatch now.
Everyone go subscribe to Into the Next Tier. Garrett's thought along with Kyle Ferguson on his thoughts on Heroes of the Storm in the latest patch.
Yes, one person thought it was cool and the other person was me. Guilds, man, they just seem strange. Apparently it's hard. I don't know. Again, it's probably a tech limitation, as we talked about earlier. Tournaments, don't give me hope, Dean. I don't believe you. So that leaves me with multiplayer constructed game modes and card markets for things I'm actually hopeful will ever get added to this game.
Card market. So card market, the last time I remember real money in a kind of auction house system in a Blizzard game, it didn't go that well in Diablo 3, if I recall.
I believe it destroyed the key gameplay loop of the entire game.
Yeah. So multiplayer sounds cool. And I do think that kind of addresses some of the social stuff. And I would like to see some kind of, the thing about guilds that I loved about Magic Online, different card game that I used to play. That's what we're doing on today's show. The social element was small, not big. There were 20 people in a guild, and you would have a guild chat room, and you would get alerted when they came online, and that was kind of it. And that'd be kind of cool, especially if they raise the friends list limit in BNet. But I know that's BNet and not Hearthstone specifically. But it'd be really nice to have some kind of in-client chat room social function like that. That'd just be cool, and it doesn't have to be huge, but it would end up being huge from an infrastructure perspective. But multiplayer constructed, I think there's a huge opportunity there, and people would play a lot of it.
Yeah. I don't. Multiplayer would be cool. Everything, the guilds, I'm not against, but I just I don't know. I just don't see it being a priority, especially in this day and age where we have so many tools like Discord, where it's like, do you need it? If you really want social interaction around your game, there's plenty of options. You got your Reddits, you got your forums, you got your Discords. So, just a thought. All right, under large, they've going to be pitched AI on ladder and player profile.
So player profile, I'm not quite sure what that means. AI on ladder, I think, is important.
I would imagine player profile would be some kind of way that, like, if I was playing you, I could see your profile. Or, like, see the profile of the last person you played.
I don't know what it means exactly, so I don't want to make assumptions. Because if this is under the large feature, what you just described doesn't feel like a large feature. So I'd want to know exactly what he meant there. There was something that I responded to. I responded to his tweet with a bunch of suggestions of my own, as I am known to do. And one of the things that I requested was being able to set what modes you want for your quests. Some people really want BG quests. Some people really don't want BG's quests. And that might be the player profile thing of like, what kind of player am I? What modes do I engage with? What content am I looking for? And that might be a larger project where they can customize the offerings given to you and customize the way you engage with the game, as well as some player agency. Maybe that's it. Maybe it is some other kind of player profile. I don't know. But I do think that AI on ladder, he talked about that pretty specifically. That's a fairly common practice in most multiplayer games, especially lower in the ladder for newer players. It's just a way to ease you into the gameplay without just instantly pairing you up with people that crush you. And something that I heard about Apprentice Ladder is that Apprentice Ladder is kind of no joke sometimes, that you end up with people with fully built meta decks that just speed bump you.
Yeah, you're not wrong. If that's what a player profile is, that does make a lot more sense with being considered a large change. AI on ladder, I'm not sure how necessary it is, at least right now. It does seem like the kind of thing that will eventually one day be necessary, but queues still being relatively short.
This isn't for us. This is for new players. This is an on-ramp feature. And it's not the sort of thing that we would even notice or would apply at our rank brackets. It's the sort of thing that would happen well outside of where we've been playing the game because we've been engaged for years. But it's a new player function, which I think would be pretty important. And Ergo had saying in the chat, like the Mercs
interesting ways that AI have been added. I mean, we see it in Mercs, right? But I could see a world where you would implement it even at higher rank ladders if you're just going a horrendous losing streak, just to make good seasoned players feel better about themselves.
Sounds like Pokemon Unite. And
yes.
Yeah.
I hear someone in your household's really into it.
Yeah. There have been a few bad days where it's like I couldn't even win the bot match. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to see that in Hearthstone. She usually wins the bot match.
Fair.
I hope she's not listening.
Fair. All right, medium pitches. Mass pack opening, single player speed running, spectating high level games, list of popular decks in client. Mass pack opening, please, for the love of God.
Like, just why is this not in there already? Is this medium? Just like, I want a button that makes all the cards go in my collection.
Yes. I'm done. Like, it was the first half decade. It was cool to like go pack by pack. I don't need to do it anymore. Just give me my cards.
Yeah. I don't know what single player speedrunning means.
Neither do I.
I have no idea.
I mean, we have mercenaries and we have a lot of other single player modes in Hearthstone. I could see them adding a timer to it, or doing some type of timer event, coming up with some sort of reward system. I am the wrong person to say this to, because not only do I'm not really sure what XR means here, I am not the target audience for this. I could not give less of a crap about speedrunning.
If this was like Dalaran Heist, yeah, I'm in. You got me. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Spectating high-level games seems like it would be a good quality of life feature. Like, if you're in client and you don't feel like playing, it'd be particularly cool if it was a rather robust feature. Like, I want to spectate like by class would be kind of cool. Like, yeah, show me a high-level hunter game, and poof, there you go. Or
it's
tie
like
this
the VODs functionality on HS Replay, which is a great site.
Yeah. Or tie it into the list of popular decks in client, which I know now I'm like combining two things. But if you had some sort of system for identifying popular decks, it would be really, really cool then if not only they were listed in client, but then you could hit a button, it would just take you to someone who's playing that deck right now.
Yeah.
That could be very, very cool. There's some cool stuff here in the media. And the mass pack opening to me is like a requirement. Like, we need this at some point. Please. Then under small, Naxxramas and Classic was mentioned, and Super Legend card back. Would have gold hair and turquoise eyes.
Well, you need 2 of them for that card back. So that's Super Saiyan 2, I think.
No.
Is that just Super Saiyan 1? Was Super Saiyan 2, the hair is like pointier? I forget. I know
Super Saiyan
3 is the long one.
Yes, 2 was very subtle. It was just kind of pointier.
3 is the long one. 4, they go back to the black hair, but they grow the tail.
That is not considered canon.
And then Ultra Instinct is the silver eyes.
You're forgetting Super Saiyan God, which is canon. But
this is forgetting would imply that I ever knew that. I'm going to YouTube that later.
This is not a WoW podcast. This is not a Dragon Ball podcast. Yeah, they've mentioned wanting to expand upon Classic. I say do it, but also don't keep it permanent. Let's have kind of like your seasons in Diablo and now Season of Mastery in World of Warcraft Classic. Let's have rotating metas in Classic.
Time walking in retail.
Yeah.
This is make time walking Hearthstone.
I really want this. Like, it might become my go-to standard mode if I can just revisit metas from the past and it's with relative regularity changing.
Yeah. Let's do that. Approved, Ixar. You can start when you get back to the office.
Yeah. There's just something about saying we're adding Naxxramas to Classic that just doesn't really excite me. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to see the Naxxramas meta again, but I want a promise of something more, I guess. That would really...
The Nax out memes, though, those are going to be good.
Oh, they're going to be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to be wonderful. Maybe we can get like Disguised Toast to play Hearthstone again, and we can really go back in time.
Yeah, I'm all set. He's fine.
All right, and then under miscellaneous, we got things like alt card art, auto squelch, class ban, event ? No, just permanent, please. Deck tracker, more uses for dust, reporting features, consequences for bad behavior. Imagine a world with that. Better rank systems for Battlegrounds, Battlegrounds weekly brawl, rotating set format, best of 3 ladder, and fire Bobby Kotick. One of these wasn't something that XR wrote.
Yeah, I don't think that he'd bring up deck tracker.
That's true. Yeah.
It was the last one.
I can't think of anything I need less in the game than deck tracker, considering it is done very well by third parties. More uses for dust would be great.
Yeah. People want deck tracker on mobile, but this request for Blizzard to do a first-party in-client deck tracker, I have never played a CCG that had an in-client deck tracker, and I have played an awful lot of digital CCGs. It's just not something that makes sense in the client. It's a good add-on, but there's no way for the UI to display it cleanly or add-on tools for this. It's not something that I expect any company to do. Like, I don't think there's a way to do it that doesn't suck.
That's fair. That's fair. I like the rank system in Battlegrounds.
Yeah, sure. I don't feel like you need to be able to see the rank, and the way that people's legend rank is displayed, that needs to be mode specific. You need to be able to choose which mode you want to show off, because most people don't. A lot of people don't have constructors as their main mode.
Yeah, especially now with mercenaries. It seems we've gone beyond the point of, okay, I can see it. Yeah, Hearthstone started at one thing. It's kind of slowly evolved over the time. Like, we straight up have 3 completely different games that we can play within this. And then smaller iterations upon those 3 within.
You say we have 3 different and we have to go even further beyond? Like a Super Saiyan? You know? Did you follow that?
Super Hearthstone. Yeah, we need to get the Super Hearthstone God. That's what we need to get to. The Hearthstone logo is kind of already turquoise, so that works. No more Dragon Ball references from here on out. I'm going to try really, really hard, everybody. I promise.
I'm not going to try.
Best of 3 ladder is something I used to wish for a long time and gave up on. That sounds cool.
If it was in the client, I would play it.
We already opt into it. There's certainly matchups where that wouldn't be the case, but there's a lot of matchups I think where it would be close to the time investment of a Battlegrounds lobby.
Yeah, I have played in and am the commissioner of an amateur Hearthstone league where I play conquest matches every week, and you budget an hour and it usually takes 30 minutes, and sometimes it takes the full hour, but usually takes 30 minutes, and that's for best of 5. So, yeah, this could easily be in the client. What I've asked for many times is that where you switch between ranked and casual in the top right, which is different now. Now it's all the layout. It used to be you would switch between ranked and casual, just add pro, and then you go into the borrow decks functionality screen, like where you pick the decks, and then you get to look at theirs and yours, and then you click the ones you want, and then you go into a different screen with the same layout, and you ban the ones they brought, and then you play. Seems doable.
Would be exciting to see this quite a bit.
Yeah.
I would really like
I
to
think
mess
it's a
with the
big
class
feature,
ban.
but I know there are moments when a lot of people are like, I don't want to see this thing. I think that would be popular, but I think it would have a lot of ripples in the pond as to how it would distort the ladder experience in a lot of ways. And I don't think those are immediately obvious. I've tried to think through them, and every time I do, it gets more and more complicated the more I think about it.
Maybe introducing it as an event and seeing how it goes.
Yeah.
Would be
We're
interesting. Yep. You want to get nerdy for a second? Like nerdier than already talking for an hour and 20 minutes about a card game?
And also about Dragon Ball Z a lot, and multiple other card games, and Pokemon Gen 1 Japanese cards that you had before you had a driver's license. I think we've crossed the barrier, Garrett, but yes, I'd like to get specifically nerdy.
Yes. There was an update this week on the official forums from community manager Gnome saying, explaining how we've gotten timing updates.
Okay.
I legitimately went cross-eyed while trying to read this.
This is very rulesy. So I'm going to try and de-rulify it. Cut through the legalese. So, Garrett, do you remember how on launch there are bugs sometimes?
Yes.
There have been times.
Yes. I'm familiar with the concept of bugs.
There have been times where sometimes you get Lothubbed or Boom Pistol bullied or whatever. But if you get Lothubbed, and then you play Rogue Galacrond, and the spells that were in your hand on the left all cost 5 more, but the Rogue Galacrond drawn cards, all those spells cost 0. Why are they different? Why does this bug exist? Sometimes with Celestial Alignment and Lady Anacondra, sometimes, depending on which one happened first, the cards cost either 0 or 1. Why is that? So, there are bugs about this, but also part of this has been that over the years, these things have not been consistent in how they work. So the Hearthstone team made a post about how they're going to make it consistent going forward. I don't know how this is coded on the back end because I don't work there. But my guess would be they said, okay, we're tired of this being inconsistent, it being buggy every release. There are 3 different layers that we're creating. The highest priority layer. A card says what it costs itself. A card references itself. I-Beam is the example that I think is a great example. If it is in the outcast position, the left or right of your hand, it costs 1. Second, a card that references other cards on an aura basis, a constant basis. An aura is when you have a card in play and it does that weird glowy thingy. You know the glowy thingy I'm talking about. Taint Heart Tormentor is the example they use, the 8 mana 8/8 that makes your opponent's spells cost 2 more. Nerubian Unraveler, also if you look at South Sea Captain, that's an aura, it's a glowy thingy. Anything that's a minion with a glowy thingy in the board. Then, there are cards that reference other cards once. Freezing Trap. This card costs 2 more one time. So, the way it works now is, cards that reference themselves are always the thing that happens. The second highest priority is cards that reference other cards on the glowy thingy aura basis. And the third most important thing that happens is cards that reference other cards one time. So if I freezing trap your Baron Scavenger, that's the 6/6 that if you have 10 or less cards in your deck, it costs 1. If I freezing trap that, the base cost is 6. Freezing trap says no, put that to 8. But the card says no, I take priority. I reference myself. I cost 1. So for most interactions, this was how it works already. And most of the time, this is how it was supposed to work the whole time. The difference here is future cards will now be coded and scripted with these rules in mind, which means there are going to be way fewer bugs on launch. Now, there are a couple other changes. In particular, Moonfang and Moarg Artificer is called out. This is the biggest visible change as of right now. Moarg Artificer, double all damage dealt to minions. Moonfang, all damage dealt to me is reduced to 1. So, it used to be, whichever thing happened second was the thing that took priority. Moonfang says, I take 1. Moarg says, okay, let's double that. It would take 2. If you played the Moarg first and Moonfang second, Moarg would say, all right, double all damage dealt to that thing, and Moonfang would say, no, I take 1. Now, no matter when this Moarg came around, no matter who he's been talking to, Moonfang says, I don't know who you are. Don't care what you're doing. I take 1. And Moarg's like, okay. Because Moonfang references itself, and Moarg references someone else, and Moonfang don't take no crap from no demon. He just takes 1. That's all he takes. So, you shouldn't need to care about this, but it makes bugs less likely on launch, and that is the good thing. And if you ever want to know what's going on, then you can reference this and have a rough idea of what you can expect in interactions in the future.
I have a feeling this will come back up in like a year and a half from some very specific email that's like, why did this behave in the way that it behaved? And I was expecting a different outcome. And you will pull it from memory while I glaze over. Go, wasn't there a thing at some point from somebody that explained how this worked? And I barely understood it then, but I vaguely remember it being mentioned now.
I'm also being informed, thank you, Kajitar in chat, Moonfang's a she. So my apologies. Moonfang, she don't take no crap for no demon. But also keep in mind, this change came with a couple bugs. The Celestial Anaconda thing I talked about, that was bugged when this came out. They had to fix it. They just had to fix South Sea Captain not overriding Lord Barov. Everything went to 1, set it to 2. So they're going to have some bugs they have to fix, but at least we'll know they're bugs right away. And yes, I envision that in the future, someone else will be confused and I'll recall this from memory. That sounds plausible. That sounds like something that's going to happen.
Sure does. Well, with all of that out of the way, let's take a few emails because we haven't had time for them recently that are sent over to tacpodcast@gmail.com or left in our patron Discord.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
King Dupless wants to know, first, what cards? I want to know where Hat is. I bet he ran for a beverage. Where'd Hat go? He usually leaves me a message. Must have been an emergency. How you doing, chat? How you doing? Hajikumo, it is you can ask me for a question. What's up? What's on your mind? I realize it's a troll face. How you doing, Hat? Yeah, how's Hat doing? I think Hat's doing okay.
I had to pee, I'm sorry.
I mean that was brisk. That was fast.
It was a pressing situation, so I figured I'd go during the bumper.
I'm assuming you marked this for the audio version.
Yeah, we're gonna put it at the front of the show.
Okay, great. And okay, and you're fine with this being in the video version?
Well, I mean, it happened. This is content. Listen, if they got this far, they accept us for who we are.
I'm just making sure. Hey, video listener or video watchers right now on A-Move 2, leave a comment below if you saw Hat not here while and instead was peeing.
We're leaving this is a special video moment that everyone gets to share.
Only live stream and YouTube viewers are going to see this.
Yes.
Which is always true because it's a visual medium, but you get the idea. You get
I
the
feel
idea.
better now.
This week, King Dupless writes in and says, first, what card or cards would you craft on day one? And going to say other than the hero cards because those seem like pretty obvious choices for most of the classes. Second and most important, what is the cutest art of the set? What card or token is it this time? All right, so first off, if you do not crack it, what is the number one thing you are definitely going to freaking craft for yourself?
Saying not the hero cards is totally cheating because like it's obviously the hero cards.
110%. Yeah.
Like it's gonna be the hero cards.
It's going, yeah,
And,
Cariel,
I mean-
man. Cariel is at the top of my freaking list.
Yeah, Kurtrus, I agree. So when I was looking, like I don't know, the Demon Hunter epics look cool. Beast from Below, the demon, the druid epic, whatever. I don't know. I don't mean to sound ivory towerish. I really don't. I want to make sure that I'm clear as to what my experience is. I've owned every card in every expansion that's been released within a week of its launch because I spend the money because I get paid to talk about Hearthstone by wonderful listeners like you, listener. And so I have
At
a different relationship with the game now.
patreon.com/GAC.
Yes, I think that's a great website. I'm a big fan. I go there every Monday night. I though my relationship with the game is so different now that I haven't really gone wanting for cards in a while. So if I were from a more casual perspective, it would absolutely instantly 100% be a hero card. And it would absolutely 100% be Kurtrus. But like to try and answer this question any other way would be like, I don't know, if you were going to Warp Tour, who would you most want to see besides Good Charlotte?
Newfound Glory, AFI, Rancid, Green Day, rarely played. I love Good
You
Charlotte.
get where I was going there.
But there's plenty of
Yeah.
bands above that I would go see.
Right.
But
like, you
hey,
get the idea.
I hear there's this really good band called The Ghost Inside.
I would want to see them. I would want to see them.
Yeah, because otherwise you don't want to get caught in the avalanche. No one wants that.
I think you're referencing a lyric, and I'm not great with lyrics, but I'm glad you did it.
Moving on.
It's not specifically TGI. I'm really bad with lyrics in general.
The way I
it
tend to
not
answer these questions is like, what can I not wait to play? It's not. I don't usually look at this question and think, what do I think is absolutely going to be bonkers, busted, broken? Doesn't matter. It's going to land. It's going to be competitively playable. So it's a no-brainer to craft it. I think more, what is the number one thing I want to play day one when nobody knows anything and ladder is a madhouse? And through that lens, I think the only answer is Rune of the Archmage.
I hear the people that revealed it were very handsome.
Oh, are you talking about the Angry Chicken podcast where they got to reveal Rune of the Archmage and Magister Dawngrasp?
Are you holding yourself back from clicking the scene transition button?
No, because it's still loaded up.
And I'm still Jocelyn.
Not sure about the new haircut, Joss.
Yeah, it's yeah. I was gonna say something.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? Break up with your barber? That's awkward. That's awkward.
My barber lives with me.
So, did you have an answer, or were you dancing around the fact that you weren't just gonna craft scabs right away?
Well, it's so the Demon Hunter cards basically are the ones that actually excite me the most, except for Carrie Foul. She's whatever. So it would probably be those. But I would also be interested in Beast from Below and the Frostwolf Matriarch. The Paladin epics look really cool. Brasswing. I want some Brasswings. I want some big dragons.
I'm still Brasswing's exciting. I don't know if it's gonna pan out.
I don't think it'll be good, but
I'm more excited about the rare, which is Templar Captain, which was actually the first thing that came to mind, and I'm like, it's a rare. I'm gonna find it. It's gonna happen.
That's the thing. Like it's I don't know. The things that I would chase if I were on a limited budget are the hero cards.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to Paladin though, and you could probably say Sidon the Scarlet. I think Sidon's gonna be good. and then you're, not technically cheating because it's a legendary, but it's not a hero card. So yeah. There's only one cute card I'm aware of, and it's a token, and it's Frostwolf Cub. This is actually a pretty cute, light set.
Yeah, it doesn't feel too like... It's definitely got like the comic book vibe. It's not super dark, but it's not super like airy or whatever. 'Cause when you think about like Skullomance Academy or whatever, I think that's pretty bright and cartoony. Whereas there have been other sets that have definitely been more thematically dark. This one is right in the middle, so I don't see too much that's like really crazy one way or the other.
Yeah, it's clearly Frostwolf Cub is damn adorable.
Oh, Pops a Cooler. Lepton said it in chat. She's right. Pops a Cooler.
Oh, yeah, that's a neutral, right?
It is.
Where the hell's
And it's
Pops
Matt
a-
Dixon.
Okay.
Of course, it's Matt Dixon.
It's cute-ish, I think it seems cute by comparison to the set.
They have little ice cream cones with the mercenaries.
To me, that looks kind of disturbing. Like it looks like a bunch of severed heads in a fridge.
They're not. It's like the Mickey Mouse ice cream. Did you not eat the Mickey Mouse ice cream growing up?
I mean, I did, but they weren't this well defined. They actually looked pretty poor. Like they were very poorly rendered.
Technology has advanced.
These
so
are too
far.
well
We have to
drawn.
celebrate that.
This is a fantasy world with no high tech. Well, I guess they have robots. Never mind, they do have technology.
This is a robot.
I know. I was losing my own argument to myself. It's Frostwolf Cub. That's the end of it. What did Divik have to say?
Divik had to say, here's a fun design thought experiment. You've decided that you want Team 5 to push a tribe of your choice competitively for the upcoming year or years of Standard, but they can't push them into classes already been pushed in before. For example, Beast in Druid. What class and tribe do you choose? There is one answer that resonated in my head. The second I thought of this question, I tried to convince myself to give other answers, but no. Put Murlocs in Warlock. I want to see them. Want evil Murlocs.
Divik literally wrote F it, Murloc, Warlock, let's go, but didn't write F. Yeah.
No, Divik didn't write that. I wrote that.
You wrote that. Gotcha. Murloc, Warlock. Haven't we had a Murloc, Warlock like way back in the day? Wasn't there a
Sea Devil Stinger?
Or Murloc Zoo variant?
Well, okay. Murloc Zoo variant, Mur-Lock. That was Trump played that in 2013. I don't know if that's real, but that happened in 2013. Was it Artosis played it and then Trump hungry crabbed him? I forget. Something like that. It wasn't. I don't think it was real, but it was a thing that happened. And then Sea Devil Stinger was printed, which is it lets you pay life instead of mana for a Murloc. Didn't end up being that broken for some reason. But I don't know. I want to see more evil Murlocs.
Yeah, Murloc is. I really have liked all of the different variations on Murloc, so I would like to see another Murloc Paladin because I feel like it's been long enough. But to be more unique, let's do something that shouldn't happen because it's dangerous, because metal is conductive, and let's do Mech Shaman.
Okay. Well, we've had that. Remember Whirling Zap-O-Matic?
Was it Mech Shaman or was it Whirling Zap-O-Matic in Shaman?
Power Mace. Power Mace. It buffed mechs. I guess that was just GVG. Everyone was mech adjacent, but yeah, there was a Korean Mech Shaman with Whirling Zap-O-Matic and Power Mace that was quite good.
Yeah, it was GVG though. And can that count? That'd be like if they came out with a Murloc expansion where everyone got Murlocs.
Sold. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do that. Actually, never mind. There we go.
Yeah.
Where's our Murloc expansion? How has this not
out.
happened? That's my answer.
I don't
Murloc
know.
expansion.
Yeah, I'm upset now.
That's
Why
the
hasn't
Murloc
this happened
expansion.
sooner?
Yeah.
I'm like
How
actually
the
upset.
shit? How do we not have a Murloc hero for every class? Like, just imagine Murlocs doing cosplay of all of the heroes in the game.
How does a hypothetical make me mad at the design team? Is this just what Reddit is like all the time?
It's because we're not on the design team. That's the difference. If we're on the design team, suddenly we get excited because we can pitch this. Yeah. All right. Final question. Mike wrote in, says, with the new expansion being revealed now, do you think Hearthstone sets are too self-contained? I mean this in a mechanical way, not lore, because we've had year-long crossovers. There's evergreen mechanics like Battle Cry, Death Rattle, etc., but it feels more and more when evaluating new cards we say, quote, this doesn't fit somewhere now, maybe in the future when we get more X support. Then that support never arrives and it falls flat because the next set is just wildly different. For instance, how many of the new hero cards are going to line up well with the quests? I love the diversity from set to set and keeps everything fresh, but could there be more of a blend between expansions? Hat, I'm going to limit you to 10 minutes on this. There's a lot.
You should answer first.
Here.
You should answer.
Well, first of all, like I want to like do a technical, like push up my glasses and be like, when we talk about like this isn't real. I don't think there's enough support now. Maybe there'll be more support in the future. I'm not talking about like battle cry cards. Like it never once have I meant that. Like not once at all. We're talking about themes like the example we always give is back in the day Beast Druid, when we were like, oh, they're going for Beast Druid, and it never landed. It has since landed, clearly. So I'm not even sure what to zero in on here. Because not everything is going to be good. That's just an impossible task. And I don't want I'm getting a sense from Mike. I'm reading between the lines here that Mike wants every quest to synergize with every hero, and I don't want that, and I've never expected that.
Say that again for me, because Discord cut out.
I was saying I'm reading in the lines here, and I'm getting an air that Mike might want all hero cards to synergize with all quests.
So there's a lot going on here. The quests and hero cards were specifically designed to not work together. That is on purpose, because you don't want a standard deck to need that many legendaries, and you don't want those marquee mechanics to even reinforce themselves, because then if you make the marquee legendaries of each set reinforce each other, there's nothing else to do that can compete with that in the next year's standard, so you end up having to nerf the crap out of them, because otherwise you have a full year of standard deck competing with 4 set decks of next year's mechanics. You can't really do that. So when I look at the decks that are in standard right now, let's look at this deck, Quest Mage. Have you heard of Quest Mage, Garrett? Heard of Quest Mage?
Just a few times.
So let's look at Quest Mage in current standard. Flurry is from Barrens. Brain Freeze from Skolo. First Flame from Stormwind. Studies is from Skolo. The Quest is from Stormwind. Cram Session is from Skolo. Ignite is from Stormwind. You've got AI. You've got Fireball from Core. You've got Incanter's Flow from Ashes. Springwater from Barrens. This is happening right now. The issue is that the marquee card, the thing that stands out from each deck, tends to be the thing that people remember. And it's going to be the hero cards. That's coming. Because big, flashy, game-ending legendaries are things that people remember. It's been the quest, because those are turn 1 and turn end the game. But when you look at Handlock, Flesh Giant's a Skoloman's card. The Delete Lock cards, Soul Rend, Baron Scavenger, Bristleback are all Baron's cards. Backfires from Dark Moon Races, of all things. Raised Dead from Skolomance. You've got all sorts of stuff from all over the place. You really don't want a single deck that gets better every time you release an expansion for the entire standard year, because the next year has a lot harder time dealing with that. And sometimes you can make a mechanic that's really powerful, and it sticks around for a bunch of metas, and people keep playing it. It's called Librams. Librams have been good in every standard, and they're from Ashes. They were bad in Ashes until the very end of it, and then they got better and better and changed and kept going, but they've been good the whole time. So they try this, but you got to be careful. If you make something that works with every future expansion, then you make something that people don't stop playing for 2 years, and that can be okay, or it can not be. People get tired of it. But the decks that we're dealing with in current standard are not really all that focused, and the quest decks seem like they're heavily focused on the quest, but they're really heavily focused on the synergy. That's all about combining these cards from different environments. Remember, in Darkmoon Faire, the best rogue deck was World Kick Rogue. World Kick Master from Saviors a year and a half before saw 0 play, for 15 months until they printed Prize Plunder. And then all of a sudden, you can make a rogue deck that has a curve that stops at 3, sometimes with Jantis, if you're feeling saucy. And you can outvalue every control deck in the game. So we have this crossover, but maybe thematically, maybe visibly, but I just don't want marquee legendary cycles just being generically powerful cards that constantly work well with each other, expansion after expansion after expansion. It makes things really, really boring. And I like the amount of cross expansion synergy that we have right now. The difficulty that they have to deal with is, how do we make cool, flashy cards that people want to play and feel good about playing that also don't dominate the meta the entire time they're in Standard? And they haven't really found a good answer to that yet, but so far, balance changes seem to be the way to go.
I'm very caught up on the thematic thought about all of this, because I feel like a lot of times when we say this probably isn't going to work now, but it will later, we're kind of thinking about a more overt theme. And you mentioned Quest Warlock, where I just go, there's really not a theme. I don't think there's like printed. The Warlock quest, as it currently is not beholden to what cards are printed. So all it asks is to take damage on your turn, which the Warlock can do without any cards at all.
I think Flesh Giant cares a lot, right?
Yeah.
Seems that's a pretty important card in Handlock. I'll throw that out there. And there are a couple other ones like Slinger, but yeah, it's as long as they're self-damage cards. Now, something like Backfire raised at are really, really big payoffs there, and they help facilitate the quest. Flesh Giant's the main one, and that's kind of the synergy card. But you look at Quest Mage, and Cantor's Flow being a year-old card that was terrible until a year later is a really great example of how they managed to do exactly this thing. And they printed Spring Water as that kind of boost. But be careful what you wish for, because not everyone loved where this landed.
No, not at all. And I don't know, there's just so many aspects to this question too. It's like, do we want to get into the fact that bad cards should exist just in general, and that, you know, maybe those bad cards are leading a direction that seems new and unsupported, but it could just be that it was just meant to be one of the lesser powerful cards of the set, because that is intentional. There's also the arena side of things, where a card, when we're thinking about archetypes and constructed, it doesn't work, but maybe in a vacuum as a card just for pure value, it's fine.
And if you want to look back to what Insularity really looked like, we've had some of that relatively recently. Galakron decks. Galakron decks, you had to play the card Galakron, a bunch of Invokers and Kronks. Kind of like Librams now, but like Librams, I think you can work around. Galakron, that's what you're doing with that deck, is you're doing Galakron-y things. And playing these generic neutral Invoke cards got pretty boring after a while. They nerfed them, because they didn't want that to be the best thing to do forever, so I'm glad they did. But that's what real Insularity looks like. We don't really have as much of that anymore. The way that you build around the quests, or how you're going to build around the hero cards, it's going to be more flexible and more fluid, because it's not tied to a keyword. But I think that this has actually moved a lot in the right direction. They've actually been worse about this in the past, because you think about when you make something like Magnetic. When you make something like Magnetic and Boomsday Project, and then you don't print any mechs the next set, then okay, the deck stays the same. Or when you print Omega Devastator, then the deck gets way better, but doesn't feel any different. I just get blown out more. I don't want that either. So the big notable exception that I can think of is SI7, the Quest Rogue, which I do see they didn't print any more SI7 cards. The deck was like half of those to begin with. I think you have a lot of flexibility to change that deck based on what's given, and Scab's Hero goes in that deck instantly. But I can see an argument that maybe you don't print SI7 Rogue if you know you're not going to give it more cards right away. Maybe that's something that they wanted to do on purpose, to make sure that it was self-contained and people wouldn't need new cards right away if it was something that's more casual friendly. Or maybe they just didn't have any good fits for SI7 cards. We'll see more of those in the future. But I understand that maybe the deck doesn't get any new cards right away, but I think in general, you're going to find there's a lot more crossover than there used to be.
Yeah. I think I'm just coming around to my answer is no, I don't think sets are too self-contained, or I think to a certain degree they should be somewhat. I mean, an expansion is going to be themed. There's going to be a theme around it, whether it's a year where we're having an overarching storyline or not. There's still going to be a cohesive theme, loosely cohesive because clearly see times every expansion where they kind of bend the rules. But no, I want them to experiment. I want them to try, and it's fine if it doesn't always land. But we've also seen in the last essentially 2 years where they've been a lot more willing to push things, and they kind of show their hand. Where as they start buffing things, we see, they wanted this to be more impactful than it ended up being. And so they're going to continue nudging it through buffs in addition to nerfs to what's overperforming.
And I haven't seen quite as many. The term they use in Magic development is parasitic. When you have something that only cares about something else in that set, they haven't done as many of those. Think about even a year ago in Scholomance, Soul Shards. Soul Shards are a very clear mechanic. They care about shuffling specific Soul Shards into your deck. It was only in Skolo and Darkmoon Races with Lucky Soul Hoarder and I think one other card. And then they didn't print anymore and the deck is dead. Like there's just no Soul DH, there's no Soul Warlock, it's just gone. It's just not a thing. And it seems like that they do that every so often because it's important for you to know when you're, for some players, deck building is really, really difficult. Opening a card and knowing, all right, I see Soul Fragment. I'm going to search for other Soul Fragment cards, put them all in my deck, and then see what happens. That's pretty important to have in your game, but not too much of it. They really haven't done too much of it. The SI7 Rogue from this year is the only other example I can really think of, whereas last year there was even more of it, and they seem to be winding it down a little. We'll see. There are points where they print a mechanic with the clear idea that it guides you in a very specific direction, but most of the good decks that we see right now are more loosely tied, and they work better when they incorporate cards from multiple expansions.
Well, thank you for your question, Mike. It was a deep well that I think I'm still going to be thinking about when I hit stop record today. Keep the questions coming, everybody. tacpodcast@gmail.com, or if you are a patron, you can just drop us a message in the patron Discord. We have a lovely channel called Questions for the Show. You can skip the inbox entirely and send them there, or just, send a carrier pigeon, hit us up in the Patreon message, whatever you prefer. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Speaking of our patrons, thank you so much for your support. And if you're out there listening and you're like, I like what these dorks do, I'd like to support them. Well, you can support these dorks at patreon.com/TAC. You'll get access to our Discord. Every single patron does. Doesn't matter what level you're at. And also, you can set your own level. You don't have to use the levels we have. You can enter whatever amount works for you. Also, a huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H., Jeffrey D., and Dustin C. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to become a producer, info is on the Patreon. The back catalog of episodes is over at theangrychicken.com, or you can find the video archive on youtube.com/amove2. And you can follow the show on Twitter at TAC Podcast. Don't forget to go and find the tweet from earlier today that you can retweet for a chance to win an Alterac Standard Pre-Purchase bundle. And also, we have that giveaway that we just announced on the show at the top of the show, which is we have another 4 Alterac codes to give away. These are for the standard pre-purchase bundles. We're just going to get you 60 card packs, the card back, and 2 random legendary cards. These are sent to us by Blizzard. And all you got to do to enter that is tweet at TAC Podcast using the hashtag PuppyCubs. We'll pull names and announce winners on the next episode next Monday. But before we go, you should go check out Jocelyn's other podcast, The Gamers Inn, wherever podcasts can be found, and follow Jocelyn on Twitter at JossPlays. Other than that, Hat, where can folks find you?
You can find me, the best place, the hub of my content is twitter.com/ridiculoushat, but you can also find me on multiple other Hearthstone podcasts for some reason. CoinKazoo.com, where we make the competitive side of the game more accessible to you, and ViciousSyndicate.com, where we take a data-driven look at the standard metagame. How about you, Garrett?
I'm Garrett Art on Twitter, as I started saying, because I thought you were done talking. Other than that, amove.tv for this and everything else. You know that. You can go there, find my podcast. I would highly recommend you go, however, to youtube.com/amovetv, because I am now chronicling my journey through Final Fantasy XIV, which has been paused recently as I wait in cripplingly long queue times and have the class I decided to play completely rebuilt from the ground up, so everything I just spent a month learning is no good! I don't know how the new summoner works! It's very confusing! And I can barely get into the game to even learn it, so, there's all that. But there are 4 videos up over at youtube.com/AMOTV chronicling my first month with Final Fantasy XIV. I put a lot of effort in these videos. I'm very proud of them, and they've been getting some traction. So go check that out over at youtube.com/AMOTV. It's going to do it for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Until next time, good luck. Have fun. Job's done. I don't know why I said the thing from the other show. Hat, get me out of here.
The job and Garrett are both done.
Sometimes you go into a show and you're like, it ain't going to be that long. 2 hours. Bam.
It's what I have learned is that anytime you have that thought, you know the show's going to be long.
I almost said we should cut the timing change. And I was like, nah, we'll get through it quickly. Never mind. Nope, I should have cut it.
We got through it relatively quick. It was what, 3-4 minutes? It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, relatively, yeah.
It's
A bit.
If we're talking about should we have condensed the show a little bit, probably, but
Probably,
whatever.
yeah.
There are going to be a bunch of people working tomorrow that will listen to this because they can't play. And by people, I mean me. And I probably won't listen to ourselves talking, but there will be other people that'll be similarly situated where you have to work tomorrow. And that sucks. And I wanted to take Wednesday off, but I have a visit from corporate where they're doing a walkthrough of my facility, so I can't take Wednesday off.
Should take an extended bathroom break.
No. Also, for anyone in chat wondering, the bundle codes that we have are still usable after the expansion launches. As long as you didn't get the small bundle on your account, you can use it well after launch. You put the code in, you get the stuff.
Yes. They are good after launch. So.
They're good forever.
Yes. Well, can you say legally? Forever seems like legally binding.
Perpetually.
There you go. I don't think they're going to be good, after the death of the sun. I don't know.
I mean, there's not going to be any internet then, so you won't have to worry about it.
Well, anyways, I'm going to bring the stream down now. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. The podcast will be going up on the feed within about an hour or two if you missed it. If you're just joining us now and being like, oh, I missed it. Don't worry. Episode's going up soon. Thanks so much for hanging out, and good luck in your pack openings tomorrow. Hope you get lots of legendaries, everybody.
Yay.